be honest, how much did you know about Arsene Wenger before he joined the club? Because nowadays, if he was to join Arsenal Football Club now, you have a tablet, you have a mobile phone, you have a computer, you have laptops, you have YouTube. You can find out anything about an individual. But back then, that wasn't the case.
Well, the only thing I've read, Glenn Hoddle was a respected player, and he'd worked with him at Monaco. And I'd read something there about how, you know, what a great coach he was. And I thought, well, OK, if Glenn Hoddle's saying these, you know, the good things, then we need to take notice. But I think it became very obvious in almost the first meeting. This guy was so nice. I was kind of worried, do nice guys win things? That was my abiding memory of it. He's meticulous as well, because I was a little bit concerned that of course, Bruce Rock was suddenly lifting my status at the club, playing me in midfield. Can you believe I'm playing centre midfield with Bruce Rock? That wasn't to continue. I went to play at the back with Arsene Wenger, but he said, look, I've watched all the games, I've watched all the tapes. You play that way for me, and you'll be in the team. Absolutely no problem. So took all that away, and I then felt that we weren't listening to all these speeches from a new manager. This was, in a way, the pressure was back on us. We all had a 15-minute meeting with him, which ran into half an hour to an hour for some of the players. Mine was quite quick because it was to the point. And we were left in no doubt how this man wanted to play. And it was totally, incredibly enjoyable. Some of the players he was bringing in was, I mean, Anelka came in, a young kid from France, Patrick Vieira. The quality was unreal. Who wouldn't embrace that? You know, he was giving us an opportunity to extend our careers. I remember Mark Overmars. I'd played against him for England you know, Des Walker might want to look away from that with that night, but Overmars' pace was on another level. I mean, I think when he disappeared eventually, you know, Gary Neville was delighted because he couldn't sleep the night before he played against Overmars. He was so quick; it was as if someone had picked him up and placed him on the pitch. So you had all that talent, and you were training against them every day, so you knew what the opposition were up against. And yeah, it was like suddenly Arsenal had been transformed overnight into this, you know, incredibly fast-flowing football team, and we were all suddenly being told that we could play now. We were all complete players, so it was, yeah, quite an uplifting change.
What about off the pitch upkeeping, the diet, all these restrictions that came into place? Now it's the normal, everyone knows about it, but back then it was a bit unusual. But you yourself, we had dinner last night, you take care of your body. You seem to be very focused on what you consume now. Were you one of the early adoptees of the diet restrictions?
I wasn't a drinker, but very much the diet now is sort of followed on from the Wenger years.
So it started there, from the Wenger years coming in?
It did. We were kind of like chew to win became a motto, and then all of that was explained to us. But it wasn't like being with your father. It was a case of he would actually delegate this learning process to other people. So a dietitian would come in. We had then sports scientists who come in to help. So everything was changing. There would be a blood test. Very early on, they found out that I was anemic, and I'd been playing with this for years, lack of iron. And then I couldn't digest the iron, so they gave me vitamin C. But we were regularly tested. So suddenly, you know, I'm taking zinc and all these minerals and things that I was inefficient with, and feeling $1 million now on the pitch, and I didn't really know if it was the food, if it was the supplements, if it was the stretching and the changing of the way we trained. So we would stretch before training, stretch after. We never stretched after in the past, so there was like a recovery. I didn't know what was making me feel so good, but I wasn't going to drop any of it. I was going to totally be engaged in what we were doing, and I think that was the same for virtually every other player. So you felt like supermen eventually in that period. And then when you look around a dressing room and you see such great talent, as I used to say before the games, you just take a look around, guys. You know, you won't, I mean, for me, I don't want to be disrespectful. I had a youth team that was incredible when I was used to that. And in football, you're pushed against each other to get there, aren't you? Because you've always got to be better than someone else, but you have to be in a decent team where your colleagues are at a good level. Otherwise, you're not going to win anything. And suddenly, I'm looking around this dressing room at the likes of Anelka, and I'm giggling at how good they are. in realising that this doesn't happen very often. I was lucky because it happened for maybe 7 or 8 years under Wenger, and I'd say it before every game to make my players feel like they're how good they are, because sometimes they need reminding. But it would remind me of I've just got to do my job. Because there's no weaknesses in this dressing room. This is like a really top group of players. And so it proved in 97, 98, where we went on that incredible run of 10 games and you don't do that unless you've got people completely focused and at boiling point.
Yeah. What about Wenger as a man? Because having talked to a lot of footballers, so many speak highly of Sir Alex Ferguson and what he does for players off the pitch. I've heard a few stories as well about Arsene Wenger helping individuals, and I think there's probably no better example than how highly Tony Adams speaks about him and how he extended his career just by being at the club and all the issues which Tony had and how he helped him. I mean, did you find the same with Wenger as a man off the pitch?
Sure, yeah. I mean, as I say, I was a bit of a sprung coil, and he kind of unravelled that. I remember before the FA Cup final, and I'd missed all these. As I say, I'd missed a succession of finals where I was cup tied and then I was injured. And I was out there on the pitch a couple of days before, and I was doing extra training, and a tap on the shoulder from the manager saying, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What I'm doing?" He said, No, you're in fantastic shape. You're playing brilliantly. You don't need any more. Off you go. Go in." And I thought, he's right. I probably would have got injured if I'd have stayed out there any longer. So that was very much Arsene Wenger was always trying to protect me, and I felt there was a definite more of a care from Arsene Wenger, more of a belief. And if there was an issue, he'd say, "No, you'll find a way. I trust you. You'll find a way." And that's all I needed. And to be honest, in the jobs I do now, I feel the same way. If I'm an analyst or the people who've got the best from me, if I'm doing the show with you later, I like to be able to work in my own way. I don't necessarily like to be questioned too much. And I just like people who kind of don't say, just be free in your mind and just go and express and do what you do, because I believe in you. And I think that a lot of managers often get the best from their players in that way. But Wenger had a special way, unique way of dealing with his players. We look back and we think we all could have won a lot more. We should have won a lot more. But let's look at what we did win rather than what we didn't win. And that's something that I think I try to hold on to as we look back at our careers.
Yeah, you did some remarkable achievements during your time there. Let's not forget the Invincibles season. You call it unbeaten just now, but the whole world knows it as the Invincibles, and what Wenger achieved, of course. And you were at his statue unveiling. Was it last week?
Did last week, a couple of weeks ago. It was always nice to see Arsene Wenger as a man full of wisdom now, working for FIFA. I think that's a great move from their point of view. Why not? Great to see now that is a move back towards Arsenal. I think really the only thing Arsene Wenger was sort of guilty of was maybe just staying a little bit too long. But he was in love with the football club, and he just didn't really find that perfect exit. And I think it would have been nice if he had done. He could have perhaps sat somewhere within the club as as almost like a parent or grandparent that sits within a family that is there with that wisdom, to help give a direction. I don't think that those sorts of people should worry really about them having an overbearing effect at the football club. I know Sir Alex Ferguson now sits, doesn't he, at Manchester United. I don't think he's in the way at all. I think it's great to have these former people, these iconic figures. And I think Wenger would be equally as adept in the boardroom as he was in the dugout. So maybe one day we'll see a move towards Arsene Wenger when he's finished at FIFA doing something upstairs at Arsenal.